A lovely good morning and welcome to the Camnet Breakfast Show, Thursday edition, governance, politics and policy with me, Patrick Soko, and on the other chair is Shalon Karimbola. I'm just using her grammar. On the other chair,
yes,
you like
yes,
saying on
yes.
the other chair for me.
On the other chair, on the other side, on my immediate right. You know, people when they're having interviews, journalists would really like saying on my immediate left, on my immediate right, and I don't like using that cliche, so I would rather say
on the other chair.
On the other chair. A very good morning to you, our viewers. We are back. When you see us on the screen, just know that we're about to talk about things that are happening in the country. Of course, we will zoom into some of the stories that made headlines. Serious headlines, Patrick.
Exactly.
Serious headlines. They made you run for your money.
Exactly.
They made you lose your breath. They made you stay for a very long time waiting. Just so you can break that story. Yes. We are zooming into it and we will be discussing it. So you too can have your say on these three stories in one. And let's have a conversation on them. However, let's go straight into the health corner.
Good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakubia Namfaya. So this week we are talking about anxiety disorder, and yesterday we talked about some of the types of anxiety disorder. We say that there is what we call generalized anxiety disorder, then there is also panic attack and social anxiety disorder, and also specific disorders. So today we'll talk about some of the signs and symptoms of anxiety disorders. Now, before we talk about some of the signs and symptoms, let me just briefly talk about the causes. People who have anxiety disorder usually it's caused by probably being in a situation where they were traumatized by a certain experience. So it could stem from trauma. So if someone has an experience where they were traumatized in a social situation and they were so embarrassed and they couldn't cope, or the response was so overwhelming for them, then they might develop social phobia, for example. Somebody who was traumatized because maybe they encountered a snake, they might have phobia to animals. And so these are phobias that can develop due to a certain trauma that occurred in a person's life. The other cause is that it might be genetic, for example. So if somebody would maybe develop a certain predisposition to have loss of esteem or depression, they might also have a tendency to have anxiety in certain situations. So they might have generalized anxiety where they feel anxious for different things, and they can't ride in a bus, they can't go out, they can't do certain normal things that people would normally do. They're afraid of being married, they're afraid of having children, they're afraid of owning a dog. So those are generalized anxieties. And these people would not only have one specific a fear or a phobia, but they would have a number of things that would affect them. So they could possibly have inherited a gene that could have caused them to have such behaviors. Then the other thing is alcohol abuse, drug abuse, caffeine can also predispose people to having anxiety disorders. Some of these drinks that we are taking, the alcohol, can actually lead to having anxiety disorders. So those are some of the causes of anxiety disorders, and usually the brain would produce hormones, or the body would produce certain chemicals that would overwhelm the body itself and overwhelm the person. And so that is how come they have this exaggerated fear towards certain objects or certain situations. Now, coming to the symptoms. So with generalized anxiety disorder, people with generalized anxiety disorder would have symptoms of being restless, symptoms of fear, symptoms of fatigue. So they would have fatigue, they would be restless, they would have difficulties sleeping, difficulties concentrating, and these symptoms would come about because they are having a lot of anxious thoughts, and they're having a lot of thoughts that maybe something would go wrong, and the fear is so overwhelming that they might even fail to function on a day-to-day basis. And usually these symptoms would have to be there for at least 6 months. So they come, they go, they come and go, and they come on most days in a week. So it's not every day. Maybe sometimes the person is just calm and they're okay, but maybe they are exposed to this situation and they have these fears. They have all these feelings of being restless, feelings of being losing control in those situations. So if those symptoms continue for about 6 months, then we would say that the person has generalized anxiety disorder. Then when it comes to panic attack, a person would usually experience symptoms of sweating. So they would have this, they'll start sweating so much, they have palpitations, their heart feels like it's racing, and they just can't focus in that at that point. So it's usually because of a specific situation. Maybe they're about to write an exam, or they're about to travel, or they're about to deliver a speech, and they become very anxious. So they start panicking. So they would have, sometimes they might even have a headache, they would have chest pain, abdominal pain, nausea, they might even develop diarrhea. So those are some of the symptoms that people with a panic attack would have. And these panic attacks can sometimes mimic a heart attack. So some patients would even think they are experiencing a heart attack because maybe they're having chest pain and they're having all these palpitations. But when you go to the hospital, they would most likely test you to see if you had any cardiac or heart problem, but there would be nothing. And the only way we can, the only thing that would make sense is that the person was having a panic attack in that situation. So those are some of the symptoms of people who would have a generalized anxiety disorder and even panic attacks. For specific phobias and social anxiety disorder, they would have the similar kind of symptoms where their heart is racing, they are restless, and they're sweating, and maybe feeling like they're losing control, out of control, and in those situations, so depending on the type of phobia it is, they would experience these symptoms. Depending on whether it's a social phobia or phobia for animals, they would experience those symptoms. So that is how you can differentiate generalized anxiety disorder from panic attack and also specific phobias. The other thing with generalized anxiety disorder, it would be there for about 6 months, while for panic attacks, it's usually in certain situations or certain social events or situations where a person has to write an exam or deliver a speech. With social phobia, it would be people who are about to attend an event, a wedding, a function, a party, and they become so afraid of meeting people or afraid of being embarrassed or being ridiculed in those situations. Then for people who would have specific phobias, it would be because they have encountered a specific animal or a specific situation which really makes them afraid and makes them get worried so much. So that is how you can tell the symptoms from each other. The other thing with generalized anxiety disorder, they would have sleep disturbances. So they can't sleep well at night on most days of the week. And they are struggling so much to sleep. And so they become fatigued and they become very tired. So I hope you have learned something today. If you miss any other episodes, you can watch them on my YouTube channel. Please invite your friends to watch The Breakfast Show and to learn a lot about health and other topics that are discussed on The Breakfast Show. I'll see you again tomorrow. Make sure you invite your friends. Stay blessed and stay healthy.
Right, that is Dr. Mufaya there. Never ever disappoints, like I always said. This is your segment. You can call us and advise us on what topics you want the doctor to tackle. You've seen how consistent she's been in terms of keeping us aware of the different health-related issues that you and I are supposed to be breast with for us to live healthier lives. Patrick?
Yeah, quite an interesting topic there. We've been looking at it for this weekend. That's issues pertaining to anxiety, and we just hope you manage to learn one or two things there. Quite an interesting subject that affects everyone. Sometimes we may be anxious when you're expecting a gift. Sometimes we can be anxious when something that we want happen does not happen. So those things, how you manage them, it is important. So that's to deal with mental illness. You know, sometimes you are programmed to say, "Aish, when I win this betting,
I'll make money."
Yeah, you discover you lose your earnings. Exactly. That people have ended up losing out.
Yeah, so these are things that we need to manage very well and ensure that we keep our sanity in check.
Exactly.
As we wait anxiously for certain things. I want to believe there's a level of anxiousness that is described as normal and what is described as beyond normal. So let us ensure that we experience whatever feelings, pain, hurt, anxiety, excitement, but within the acceptable standards.
Exactly.
Let's look at how the kwacha is faring against the major convertibles. The Great British Pound is at 22 kwacha 12 ngwe and selling at 22 kwacha 55 ngwe. The US dollar is at 17 kwacha 69 ngwe and selling at 18 kwacha 03 ngwe. The euro is at 19 kwacha 52 ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha 90 ngwe. The South African rand is at 0.96 ngwe and selling at 0.98 ngwe. Those are your money markets as of today, the 4th of May 2023.
Yeah, interesting. So
dollar, yeah, I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Waiting. I feel like a soccer fan now saying waiting.
Yeah, I ingira mu 16.
Yeah, I ingira mu 16. Quite a bit na mu 18,
yeah? I'm waiting.
Okay, great. So that is how our culture is faring. We always hope that the fundamentals are put in place so that it does not go beyond. At least even the 20 quarter threshold is a little too high, you know. So at least it should be 15. That is what our expectations are, and that's what we hope for at the end of the day. But it's been very fluctuative of late, 16, 17, 18, 20. It had even reached almost 21, and back to 19, 18, until 17. And it hasn't gone further to 16. It was stuck at 17 and it started depreciating further. Okay, Patrick, yesterday was a hive of activity.
Exactly.
Our neighbors here. For those of you that are just tuning in, this is the Breakfast Show and we are in Ibex. And when we're talking about our neighbor, we're talking about the former president. Yes, the former First family, ECL's family. They are our neighbors a few meters away from our offices. And it was a hive of activity, what other people called a mini campaign. And I saw some social media excited humans saying, were giving this man inappropriate attention, you know, for things that he could have just said, okay, come in, do what you want. You know,
get this vehicle.
Get this small vehicle, you know, get this. But he decided to create this hullabaloo around his residence. I'm not sure whether it was trying to gain sympathy from the public or it was just a mini rally. Anyway, a lot of theories came out of that. However, Patrick, you followed the story keenly from his residence, from to the police, Woodlands Police, to Minister of Internal Security, Jack Mwimbu, issuing a statement. Really, it was just all over. To Makebi Zulu, the lawyer. Tell us about it briefly before we zoom into some of these stories.
Yeah, I think this is purely a matter that had to do with the family. That's the former first family. And this is an issue that involves money. Money was given to a niece. We're talking about 7 million. Kwacha. And
is it kwachas or dollars?
Now we're talking about it should have been is it 4,000
400,000
United States dollars. But you talk about 7 million kwacha is not small money. No. In the old kinds we're talking about billions. 7 billion. Wow. So now you're looking at 400,000 US dollars.
Was this a retirement package?
I'm not privy to that, but you know, yeah. So this is the issue involving money, which was given to the lady, and unfortunately, it is believed that she misappropriated. You know, there are various versions of this story, and the two versions can be followed from the one from the police and the one from where the PF has posted on their platforms, such as. Where they are indicating to say the side of the first lady's story. This is where they are actually reviewing the details of the money and everything and the cars that were involved. So now the cars that were involved, there's also an issue of abduction. So there's also another car that was involved in that issue. So now that car is the one the police were looking for. It is, and they're still tracking other cars. And also the title deeds to properties.
Wow.
So now the police wanted to get the cars there. So now this is where the confusion started. No, when they went there, they met with the PF, and according to what Mr. Mwamba explained, they opted to call for their lawyers, and those lawyers said, no, you are not getting in here. The former president enjoys immunity from prosecution. So that's where the issue now dragged now, where the police now could not gain entry to that premises. So as a result, we had a standoff of some sort.
Let's look at this story where police and former President Edgar Lungu's lawyers had a 7-hour standoff as the police wanted to search the residence of the former first family. Patriotic Front officials and lawyers contended the former head of state enjoys immunity from persecution and the police were out of order. Let's look at this story. You and I can have a conversation on this. You can call us using the numbers that are scrolling on your screens, or you can actually send us the text messages on our socials. That's Facebook and YouTube. Right about now, we will be able to read those messages and talk about it and have a conversation really surrounding this matter. A lot of money was found. A lot of money was involved in this. Let's look at this story and then we can talk about it after.
The 3rd May 2023, Zambians woke up to a police operation at the residence of former President Edgar Lungu in Lusaka's Ibex Hill. There was heavy police presence and others with riot gear and armored vehicles in what seemed like a war zone. The police officers were reportedly said to search the former head of state's residence in connection with the ownership of a motor vehicle. The former ruling party later started mobilizing its members to provide solidarity to the former first family. They had vowed to camp at Mr. Lungu's residence as seen from the preparation of meals. They chanted slogans of discontent against President Hakainde Hichilema's administration. After a 7-hour standoff and Mr. Lungu's lawyers, the said vehicle was later moved from the residence of Mr. Lungu as the former First family agreed to appear before Woodlands police station. And Patriotic Front PF aspiring President Emmanuel Mwamba has charged that the search of Mr. Lungu's residence is against the law as the former head of state enjoys immunity.
Former President called his lawyers. You are aware that the former president enjoys constitutional immunity from prosecution. The lawyers came and the lawyers advised that it was not possible for the police to conduct a search at the president's residence where he lives while he holds constitutional immunity, and they advised that it was not possible. The police stated that they were interested in the former First Lady. Even that became difficult because the former First Lady is a spouse to the former president.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Wow. It's indeed a wow, Patrick.
Interesting events there. There was quite a...
The people were cooking, people were what? People were shiny, offering solidarity to the former First family. What is your take on what transpired yesterday? Quite a number of activities starting from the residence, which it started as a rumor, Patrick. In the morning, you and I received text messages from one of their sympathizers to say police surrounding ECL's house, and we actually didn't believe it at first until we saw some live visuals from some media houses that really believed him because this man is very hard to believe, you know. So we started seeing those visuals and we went there and waited for a very long time just for activities to start happening. Otherwise, Emmanuel Mwamba was acting as a family spokesperson at that particular time, would come out after some time and update the media on what was happening, go back inside, and the back and forth actually culminated into 7 hours, Patrick. Yeah,
quite interesting events there. You can see how things were unfolding there. Quite a hive of activities. But now, this is now... If we look at it, I think it wasn't necessary. If you look at it, and if you look at the case which the police are presenting, I think we did not need to have dragged
the complainant
that issue. The complainant is the niece to the former first family. Yeah,
and then the first family explains, so why we did this is because this and this. We gave this person money to keep for us, and they squandered it. And
but you know, this was purely a family matter.
Yes.
And this matter now escalated to the police. Now, because the police have a duty to ensure law and order, and they are charged with the responsibility to undertake investigations. So now the police were equally doing their job to say this is a criminal case that has been reported before us. So they are the right to take an interest in the matter. You understand? Eh? Despite the various issues that are surrounding now, this issue now, I think it would have been resolved within a few minutes, if probably because. What was the main interest there, if you check, was that Kasem vehicle that was there, which the police wanted to get, because that is yeah. So, and that vehicle, it's quite alien to be found in such a facility.
Yes, it's alien, like
the vehicles we are used to getting to that.
I'm sure it was even feeling uncomfortable. So, what am I doing in this residence? You know, why am I here? But anyways, the lawyers for these former First Family, Makebi Zulu, had explained that the First Lady Esther Lungu is a victim of the case under investigations. Mr. Zulu says there was no need for police officers to invade the properties of the former First Lady in the manner they did, but that Mrs. Lungu was willing to go to the police for questioning. He says it is not possible for Mrs. Lungu to steal the alleged vehicle, but that she has been wrongly implicated. So let's look at this story. We'll also look at the response from Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, Jack Mwembo, who was responding to various accusations that came out as a result of these events that were unfolding. Let's look at these stories, and when we return, you and us can have this conversation.
Is a victim in all this, and a statement has been given giving her side of the story, which is what we expected right from the start. We had expected that the police would act in a very civil manner, allow her to come, give a statement, and make decisions that they had to make later on. But they had come up with a decision already, invaded the premises, did whatever they did at the premises, illegally so, and later called her over. And now we have made it abundantly clear, and we hope they've understood that she's a victim in all this. Unless they decide to be malicious, we don't see them pursuing the course that they did pursue this morning. Mr. Mwale, the spokesperson for the police, prematurely made a statement. If he was indeed the PR officer that he ought to be, he ought to have waited until now when a statement has been given. To suggest that Madam First Lady is guilty or indeed stole a motor vehicle is very insulting. It's very insulting, especially that the warrant itself was not even executed. We handed over the so-called one executed, and we've explained the circumstances under which it came into her possession.
To our former president, we know they are targeting him. We know this. It's not the former president they are looking for. Yeah. I call that to be stupid and nonsensical. For someone to send some people to come and start searching a former president. That's true. Mind you, you should also realize that one day you'll be a former. Just because they've seen that the PF is still popular, we are still popular and will remain popular. Yeah.
The search which was supposed to be done today was supposed to have been done legally. The Zambia Police Service obtained a search warrant directed at the perpetrators of the act. And the title deeds are still not having been made available. As far as we are concerned, there is a report that has been made to Zambia Police. And this report was never made by President Hakainde Hichilema. Why should those leaders of the PF bring the name of President Hakainde in their abuse? Every Zambian has a right to report any criminal activity that has been perpetrated against them to Zambia Police or any other law enforcement agency. That is the right of a Zambian. Are we saying that the lady who was abused has no rights? She should not complain to Zambia Police for the abuse that were occasioned on her? Is that what we are saying now? We as the UPND government, we are saying every Zambian has the right to report any criminal activity. I want to borrow the words of my former colleague who was member of Parliament then and Minister of Home Affairs. When they were about to arrest my current president, wherein he indicated that there is no one in this country who is above the law. And that is the correct position. No one is above the law. If you transgress against the law enforcement agencies will follow.
Well, there you have it. That's the story pertaining to the former first family on the issues pertaining to money there. And the minister was clarifying. He did clarify quite a number of issues during the Wednesday press conference. He did allude to the fact that the president and the United Party for National Development Administration had nothing to do with the matter, but that it was a purely police operation as part of their criminal investigations, and that it was not right for the PF members of parliament and those senior party officials who seek to be the president of the former ruling party to start dragging the name of the president into disrepute. And he was not happy that the PF continued on that trajectory of disrespecting the president, and that he also questioned the fact that was it wrong for the leadership to former President Edgar Lungu and Mrs. Lungu to complain to the police? Was it wrong? Because he did indicate that she had the right to report the matter to the police, and that the police were just following up in line with their mandate, which is to ensure that they investigate crimes, ensure law and order prevails. So in case you want to now give us your perspective on this subject, you can now call us and give us your perspective on this. How do you think all this thing unfolded? Was it necessary? Now, just your perspective. This story, we understand, has a lot of twists and turns to it. It has a lot of various angles and aspects. It needs to be analyzed further to just get to the root of it, to the bottom. And we have seen various social media commentators giving various perspectives on the subject, but you too may have a different version of this subject. However, there has been also another concern, Sharon, that this is it was unnecessary. It was not necessary for the opposition PF to just start importing cadres to come and
no, it wasn't.
You know. And yeah, then if you saw how the police conducted themselves, 90.9%. They did not want to engage in any confrontation with the cadres. If you were there and listening to the songs that were being sung, you would be annoyed well if you are the one. Yeah, but the police did maintain their cool to a larger extent, and they did not do anything to smash any tear gas there. But it was generally it was manageable, a manageable situation. And
which kept on growing.
Yeah. And okay, let's just pick this call.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, how are you, madam?
Fine, thank you. How are you, sir? Okay, tumatola question and then you can pela contribution. Okay.
But if you are just the mind of the most of the Carambatan and school itself on Gana to effort when I put more problem with Chairman. Varia, I want to buy a special lecture from a president. So you are for president, you are changing for around 5 minutes. Now, if you are speaking my Australia, Tasharan, Tabu, Tandan, so she let us feel it's very bad behavior with my PND. So, Varia and to Varia by PND, the lack of food. And I'm not my next year because you want to buy the economy. So, there's something very up now. How much more should buy the telephone cam? Not too much actually. The issue is the Mario, good value, because she has done people normally. The two times we have to line against for what? We have to line the propaganda for what? We have to that was that money. The first time that was so if you have some thing, today long we will be but also that because she has a problem. That is my contribution.
Thank you very much for your contribution, sir. We do value your contribution. Remember, every opinion counts on Camnet TV because we are a fair station that takes no side, and objectivity is our motto. Indeed, you too can have your say on what we are discussing this morning. A number of activities happened yesterday as a result of one story. Different stakeholders rose up and started giving out their perspectives on what happened. You too can have your say on this important issue. Of course, these are still very important people. They're still a national asset to us as a people. Exactly. And therefore, that's why it has attracted so much attention from members of the public and generally different stakeholders. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Mr. Kalesha, and I'm calling from...
Mr. Kalesha, go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, Sharon. What transpired yesterday at the former head of state premises is very unfortunate. And, we should balance this whole thing up. I think of maybe our former president also allowed that thing to degenerate to the level that it did degenerate to, because he could have allowed maybe the investigative police officers to get in and know exactly what they were looking for. And then they could have resolved that here and then, maybe ask the lawyers to come and resolve it quietly. But secondly, also, the police would not have gone into there with full force. One thing that I saw was necessary was even trying to bring down the gate to just gain entrance into there. Then thirdly, I think our colleagues in the PF also and the sympathizers like the attention seeker Tayani should be careful on the way they handle issues. Look at all the verbal issues that we are going on to there. No, they are targeting the president. They want to turn something into there, and what they dramatize the whole situation. And then, as they dramatize and started bringing in people, that was to me very unnecessary. As leaders, we should be cautious on things that we are doing. So, the police also, they should know that when they do a certain action, it eventually leads for people start insinuating that it is the president that has sent them. I heard the Minister of Home Affairs statement, and I believe the president has got nothing to do with that. It should be the police that are also not sensitizing themselves before they carry out an operation. So I think we should, looking at the whole angles, we should be sensitive in the way we handle certain things. So what happens now today with the people that were insulting the president and the people things that they were insinuating and the people things that they were saying? What happens today? Because most of them are just embarrassed. Last week, we are talking about $400,000 in a country like Zambia. Like really 400 is nothing that I can give to Sharon as my relative. Sharon here is even $50,000. Sharon keeps for me for what? There should be some reason why I'm giving you the money to keep for me and probably put it into the economy to grow it. So I think some of us, the interest is to know what was the money for? Where did this come from? How did this land into that lady's hand? So those are some of the things we should in the line. The immunity and there was nothing like immunity now we know. Nothing know is the money involved. So where do we get to know from now today? Where is that money coming from? What was it intended for? To keep 200,000 today. The money lottery. Thank you so much. I think that's all I have for now.
All right. Thank you so much,
much,
Mr. Kalesha there. For your contribution. You too can have your say on this important topic that we are discussing. What's your take on what transpired yesterday? Of course, equally, I want to know where the money came from. Why were they keeping it? You know, in the house. You know, wasn't it the money supposed to be at the bank at least? You know.
Yeah, Mr. Kalesha. Yeah, I mentioned quite a various perspective to this story. It did alluded to the positives and the negatives and everything. Quite a fair comment there from Mr. Kalesha. I also love the fact that he also took into account that there was also a little bit of exaggeration or blowing things out of proportion. And by the PF and its sympathizers there, you saw how these issues they were bringing in unnecessary issues that are not even part of the case, and on how the police conducted that operation. That was also an observation that was made to say some matters you should also understand the repercussion of some certain matters, and the others who counterize on certain actions, and that's what transpired.
Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Fine, and how are you, sir? Where are you calling us from, and your name?
I'm calling from
Okay.
Friday.
Sorry, your line is giving us a bit of feedback. If you are in the house, kindly move away from the TV set.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Kindly go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, I just want to put a comment what happened yesterday. Majority of us Zambian people, we are not happy. Because if you are not very careful handling such issues, in the future, we can put this country in fire. There is no way the police can go and start searching the house of the former president of state when he has immunity. Please, let us handle national issues with a seriousness, and we should be very, very, very careful. Because what you are seeing today is painting a very bad picture to this nation. Because the majority of us Zambians, we believe that it's the current president who sent the police to go and start searching the house of the head of state, because he's the commander-in-chief. We have serious issues which we should handle. The price of living is too high in this country. There is a lot of poverty in this country. These are the issues which we want this government to handle, not the such simple issues. And that is the issue is connected with it's a family issue. But we haven't seen the reason why the police will be there as if it is a war. We are very disappointed what is happening in this government.
Okay, before you go, you clearly mentioned to say the president has immunity. Does this include his wife, children, and everything that he owns?
And the minister also did allude to the fact that crimes committed after a former head of state leaves office do not enjoy immunity. Now you can proceed.
Yeah, it is not like that, because that case is connected with the spouse of the head of state.
Of course.
Because it's like they are taking the former head of state, which has immunity. So please, let us take these issues very serious. We are very upset as Zambian people. We are painting a wrong picture even to outsiders, to other countries. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you very
so
much for
you
your comment.
Answer our call though. However, you two with legal minds, kindly call us. Does this mean if I have immunity, I enjoy immunity, Patrick does, or my children, or anybody else that is closer to me? Because I want to believe this matter, this investigation is regarding the former First Lady and not President Edgar Lungu.
And the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security
was very categorical.
It was categorical. He said that, for example, crimes committed after the former president leaves office are not
enjoy immunity.
Yes, so now that's what the justification was in terms of the immunity aspect, to say these are fresh crimes and someone reported. Was the police going to shelve the case because so that's the case, and I did put allude to the fact that it's a family matter, but this one of the family members opted to resolve issues outside the family, and they went to the police, you understand, to report the matter and what transpired. And there's also the same person who reported the matter to the police also added issues pertaining to abduction. So if you look at this case also, it is quite
complicated.
It's complicated. Yeah, because this person says I was abducted, and the next thing, my first was let's have
wow. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Kindly tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm still calling from Congress.
All right, go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, my name is just the professionalism of the police. I think knowing that the first family is the former president area there, I think there was professionalism needs to be done. Because, you know, it's obvious, the way they did it, it was obvious that people will come. Because those people, they still have the island.
Yeah.
So now, if you come like that, those vehicles, how much vehicles, what do you expect people to do at the end of the day? So I think that's the professionalism, like the way the Minister of Home Affairs said, there was nothing involved from the president, and it was only for the police. So, meaning the problem also came from the police because there was no professionalism. That's my view.
Okay. Thank you very much. Your views and opinions are respected. Each one of us has their own opinion. You too can have your say on what we are discussing this morning by using the numbers that are scrolling on your screens. You can also send us the text messages. We will look at them and see.
Yeah, interesting issues, Sharon, are coming out of this story, and various people. Okay, the entire operation also by the police also just gives them bad publicity.
Yeah.
If you look at it, the grand arrangement there, trying to break in and everything, those tend to send along a wrong image outside of this country. You know that things pertaining to the former president constitute international news.
The way you're saying it makes it sound like HH.
Yeah, it constitutes international news. Yeah, I hope you understand that.
Yes, it does.
So it gets the attention of these international news outlets such as the BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera. You see them now getting zooming on Zambia now. So what's happening in Zambia?
Yeah.
Is the former head of state being victimized by the UPND administration? You know, so now at the end of the day, if you look at it on a democratic aspect, is that the operation will also does to a certain extent paint a bad image in terms of our democracy. If you look at the United Party for National Development Administration, it prides itself in terms of spearheading democracy and good governance, promoting the rule of law under President Hakainde Hichilema. And if you look at some publicity, you know, because by the time you are clarifying an issue, a wrong signal or a wrong message would have been sent already, and that tends to dent the image of the country, because by the time you are clarifying issues and this case is being known, you understand,
probably wildfire.
Yeah, so it's already the case that goes there is that There's a police. If you check the first story initially, was that there's a raid of the police. They're searching the house of the former president
when they had not even entry.
And even us in the media, we had no information by that time to say this is the case that is at hand. You understand? And we are searching because of this. So and people started creating their own impressions.
But then again, Patrick, when police are coming to your house to search, they have a warrant. If at all they have a search warrant, maybe you can tell them, so, okay, hold on a little, let me call my lawyers to advise. But then not completely disregarding their presence at your residence, because they have a warrant that allows them to search.
It's a good perspective you're bringing out.
You know, so if at all these officers went to his house without a warrant, then you would say, okay, I won't allow you in. But then if they had it, the best that this family could have done was, okay, hold on, let me just call my lawyers, let them come, and then they'll advise. But at least accord them the respect that they deserve. I think it's important for each one of us to know our boundaries.
Yeah, you are right, Sharon.
If you're working, I shouldn't step into your work. You're just doing your job.
Good perspective you're bringing up. Okay, let's pick this call before I give you the other side.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, morning.
How are you, sir?
Okay, this is Gulwa, calling you from Kitwe.
All right.
How is Kitwe this morning?
Yeah, just allow me to contribute on the issue that transpired yesterday.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate that people are seeming to be bringing the name of the head of the state into this matter. When the police went on to do their job and enshrined in their course of duty. Yeah, I think my take now is that we have to understand the fact that the president, the former president, do enjoy the immunity of not being persecuted. So the police never went to persecute him there. The president went to investigate. So his immunity does not prevent him from being investigated. The immunity that he is enjoying being prevented him from being executed. And moreover, the Minister of Home Affairs has clearly indicated that they went to investigate the work. And not the head of state, the former head of state, no. So that's a clear distinction that we need to put across there. Mr. H.H. has nothing to do with this issue. It was clear, they went there. They called, they involved the lawyer, Mr. Maketi Zulu was there present, but they couldn't open the gate and they were forced to start grinding so that they can go through. And their lawyers were present there. So I've not seen anything wrong as regards to what the police did, because they are just conducting their duty. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Mulwade. Representing. Patrick, you're about to respond to something before I read some of the text messages on our social.
Yeah, you explained the other aspect of respecting one another and boundaries and jurisdiction in the course of duty. But when Mr. Victor Kaisha was explaining something about the police in terms of planning and how they are conducting their operation, now it gets to that. What I want to bring across, Sharon, is that people will counterize on this situation. If you look now. In Zambia, political persecution has been used to wage to gain the popularity of a political party. You understand?
Yeah.
Even President Hakainde Hichilema, if you look at previously, he was arrested. Is it 15 times that he mentioned that? It should be more than that. But every time they were arresting the President Hichilema, people were sympathizing with him because it is this person is just trying to advocate for good governance and at the end of the day they find themselves in trouble. You understand? So when now you get the entire attention of the nation to yourself, you understand? Now this is the same thing others would also counterize on, to say, okay, wow, there's a case here about this house and this the vehicle and this family surrounding the family issue, but there's also another perspective to this issue. Others will counterize and say, okay, let's label it political persecution.
Yeah.
Let's say they are intimidated by the purported ACL comeback into active politics, which there they were actually dispelling by one of the presidential hopeful, Mr. JBM, who said no, they shouldn't be afraid of Mr. Lungu is gone because he's not coming. We are the party, the PF just is popular and is among those contesting. So, but if you see around this issue, everyone else now would also try to use it to gain political mileage, because also at the end of the day, even individual presidential hopefuls in the Patriotic Front have also an opportunity to engage the cameras, bring the cameras to their side and tell the nation to say, look, this is what is happening. And while they're also doing that, also sell their manifesto as they want to remobilize themselves. So now when you are undertaking such an operation, all those things need to be factored in to say, whom are we dealing with? If you've seen that every time they are undertaking such an operation, the former ruling party has always mobilized itself to go there. So if you look, it's quite a complex subject. You can go ahead and read those messages.
Patrick, some of the text messages on our Facebook from Peter Simakongwe. He says, problem, you are personalizing the president. And obviously this is a message that is going out to the Patriotic Front. And also he goes on to say, the minister said it was supposed to be done legally. That means it was illegal for the police to do what they did. Also here from Walia Melu, he says, from the comments and the press release, it's obvious we have forgotten a president, the former President Chiluba. Secondly, in the US, we have ongoing Trump issues, so it is being seen as strange the law enforcement agencies are being hindered from doing their job. So these are some of the text messages from our socials. Thank you so much from wherever you are following us from. You too can have your say. You can either send us a text messages or you can call us and talk about what we are talking about this morning.
Yeah, so we are going to zoom in back the story where the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security was also clarifying on this issue and also giving the side of government on the subject. Then we also look at a story on the Media Liaison Committee.
But before we do that, call. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, thank you. How are you?
Fine, and how are you, sir?
I'm okay, thank you so much.
Your name and where you're calling us from?
I'm in Samata. Calling from
Mufurila. Oh, interesting. Thank you for calling. You can go ahead for contribution, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. To this situation yesterday, number one, let me be quick to say that for those that are advocating for a good relationship between the former head of state and the current president, you can see clear that this relationship is far from being achieved, where this country and the good governance is concerned. And two, for both political parties where the former head of state belongs and the current party in government, each political party is trying to gain something out of this situation. I want to be as genuine as possible in trying to point out the situation. What has been perceived in the society today is that, number one, whatever negativity is going on around the former head of state is being perpetrated by the current regime being headed by the head of state. Okay?
Yes.
And then, secondly, whatever is being said on any media or any platform where the current head of state is concerning the former head of state is in marriage to the situation around. Look at this situation yesterday. This is something that has come out to be a family situation. Okay? Whatever has happened in the past until today, I would have wished where I've been in the system before. Before anything happened, especially that office of the
former head of state. Whether you like it or not, even before being executed, the current president was notified that there is this situation. Okay? And his wisdom in the office, obviously, the minister or any other office there who was working on that situation would have seek a guidance on the matter. Away from politics, the one who is supposed to keep the life of the former president is the current president. And going backwards, we've seen how the former head of state has been looking after the late president, Arabi, and so forth, the KK. We expect that trend to go on for the sake of blessings in this country. We are a Christian nation. Let's take it that there is something wrong about the former head of state. We expect the two to sit and guide each other on how to go on in life regardless of politics. This can happen if we put Christianity first against politics. But this is not happening because each one of us has an agenda. And for those that are saying, those that went to combat the former head of state residence, the noise making, number one, there is no trust in the system whatsoever for the life of the former head of state. Because at some point we heard that even security was withdrawn. A lot of individuals who are working in that office of the sixth president have been fired. So what guarantee do we have that by surrounding the house of the former head of state, his life will be secured? So today the relationship that the former head of state has with the PS leadership and those that sympathize with him, that is where the security is. So don't laugh at them, don't despise that gathering, but you get to know and understand that there is something that is very wrong about the happening in the security system of our country concerning the life of the head of state. If he happens to die today, mark my way, the noise will end up in the hands of the current president because of what he said in public and what is happening with the security system of our country. So
all right, thank you so much there. You said this from Mfulira?
Yeah.
Mfulira, they are representing, but then, very valid point, Patrick, but
yeah,
also a number of questions.
Well.
Also a number of questions coming out. You cannot be a best friend with your opponent. I think those are realities in politics, Patrick. And the more reason why I feel people have been calling for the former president to be non-partisan, to just stay away so that he can be neutral. You know, I feel it's much easier for somebody to have a neutral ground and to be treated differently, but not where you are active. You know, you're really, really active with your former. I mean,
yeah, there's a big problem. I think
there's a problem. I think
this man did justice to this analysis.
There's a problem there.
If you also look at the point he brought out to say pertaining to security, and how the former head of state is being handled, it's suggesting to say, because in the first place, you know what, that area is supposed to have been manned by more police officers, in fact, under normal circumstances, and that there is not going to be even an issue about entry, about whatever, because the police officers would have been there. And also, it's like the former president is feeling secure with his former ruling party. Understand? But is that really security? Those are the questions he was asking.
Yeah.
Quite valid questions. So now, but how do you address? How do we protect the former president? And how do we ensure that these people unite? These are critical
issues, Patrick. You know, that's why, like I mentioned, different stakeholders, including some of those closer to both parties, they've been calling for the former president to at least stay away from his partner. He can still offer advisory issues, but then not whereby you're very active and there are rumors of him coming back. Obviously, you want to unseat me. That is HH now. What's going through his mind? You know, like, okay, this guy wants to unseat me.
Okay.
You know? So how do I become friends with this person? But if I thought the former president was as neutral as he could be, obviously it's very hard, but he still feels he can be very relevant in the political scene, of which most people feel is not actually doing him any good, because opponent. Let's just be realistic here.
Yeah, that's
in politics, you cannot be best friends with your opponent, especially the ruling and the biggest opposition. The same thing that was happening.
Also considering Zambian politics, where people feel as if when you are in opposition, you are in government, you have to be opposing. But you know, under normal circumstances, we should be able to compete on ideas, and the best ideas should be able to take over and run the affairs of the country and make sure that the country overall develops. Should be development on a temporal basis or based on what this political party feels. So now, but these are the problems also we have at national level, where there is no that cohesion in terms of the opposition and the governing party. They feel you have to always be at loggerheads, and you cannot achieve anything via dialogue. So I think
unnecessary loggerheads. Also, what came out is he says no. The president knows. Of course, he knows, but then he's very categorical. Also, these are just words that we are picking from a lot of conversations that he has brought out. Whenever he's talking. Okay. The rule of law, Patrick. He says
is it a crime for the police to go and
to the former president's
house? Those are questions.
Is it a crime? Are they following the law? Those are things that we need to actually put into perspective. But the bigger picture here from the previous caller is that both of them are just doing injustice to the whole situation, because the former is still very active, and probably the current feels a little bit threatened. Things like that. Let's also look at once more the story for Home Affairs and Internal Security Minister Jack Mwimbu when he was responding to this. Let's replay the story as we wind up the show this morning.
To our former president, we know they are targeting him. We know this. It's not the former president they are looking for. I call that to be stupid and nonsensical. For someone to send some people to come and start searching a former president. That's true. Mind you, you should also realize that one day you'll be a former. Just because they've seen that the PF is still popular, we are still popular and will remain popular.
The search which was supposed to be done today was supposed to have been done legally. The Zambia Police Service obtained a search warrant directed at the perpetrators of the act. And the title deeds are still not having been made available. As far as we are concerned, there is a report that has been made to Zambia Police. And this report was never made by President Hakainde Hichilema. Why should those leaders of the PF bring the name of President Hakainde in their abuse? Every Zambian has a right to report any criminal activity that has been perpetrated against them to Zambia Police or any other law enforcement agency. That is the right of a Zambian. Are we saying that the lady who was abused has no rights? She should not complain to Zambia Police for the abuse that were occasioned on her? Is that what we are saying now? We as the UPND government, we are saying every Zambian has the right to report any criminal activity. I want to borrow the words of my former colleague who was member of Parliament then and Minister of Home Affairs. When they were about to arrest my current president, wherein he indicated that there is no one in this country who is above the law. And that is the correct position. No one is above the law.
Without, while you're hiding or you're keeping certain people away from this. So regardless whether the former president or he's supposed to undergo through this process of the rule of law, no one is above the law, as they say. And in this case scenario, Patrick, it was the former First Lady and not necessarily the president. Let's pick this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Sorry? Kindly.
The message is short and simple. No one is above the law.
But they comply.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law. Yeah, but yeah, like we said, you know, when people come into your I think if they have a warrant, a search warrant, it's a legal document. It needs to be, of course, verified if you don't trust people. It shouldn't take 7 hours.
We have spoken enough, Sharon. That's it.
Shouldn't take 7 hours.
An opportunity, when an opportunity like that one presented itself, in the political circles, it's an opportunity for political mileage. Not two ways about it. It's not two ways about it.
Even the one who is being called upon to protect the other cannot do that.
So the issue is about being systematic and avoiding such unnecessary publicity, especially negative publicity on the part of the government.
But what do you expect them to do? Not to do their job because they're trying to avoid negative publicity?
So no, when we talk about being systematic, Sharon, we're talking about employing other techniques.
Whatever ways they will do, as long as a politician, Muntuandi,
okay. You know the other technique that could have, okay, we don't know whether the summons were handed over, the summons, and these people declined.
The person who reported this matter, Patrick, said, probably my vehicle or something like that is in that yard. And they needed to go and see for themselves whether that vehicle was in there, of which it was.
Interesting enough, do you know that according to the version of the former First Lady's story, is that that vehicle was among those that they had to get because this person said so they were getting those properties they used to buy using their money. No. Yeah, so those are the issues, right?
But if under investigation,
now I want to bring
Patrick, if a matter is under investigation, you do not stop people from getting evidence.
No,
you give them.
No, I'm talking about us now being the police now being systematic in this.
You can never be systematic when dealing with politicians.
In this agenda. But now you have to attract. Then you have to also accept to say you lose someone, you get some. You understand? So now in this case,
the police didn't even care as much. They were just there doing their job because they knew these are politicians who are trying to gain political mileage. You've clearly stated here to say anything to do with a politician is an opportunity for them to create noise, to make themselves a little known, extra than they are already. You could see there, and some of their members were even using bad language towards government, Patrick.
So, yeah, that's another problem.
Yeah.
Lack of politics of civility.
You can never be on the same page with them.
Yeah. So now, this issue is really complex. So something that is genuine, like a genuine investigative arrangement by the police. It changes into a political arrangement, you understand? And it became a rally, like you are saying.
It became another rally. People started coming in large numbers in buses, and
who was mobilizing the buses? Who was mobilizing the buses? Who was buying me?
They were actually competing to say, allowances, you see? The way the competition
and,
is.
Okay, another problem.
It's very clear.
The language. Talk about the language. I think even some of these senior PF members, even us as the media, as we were trying to do our work, some of us were busy trying to tell us what to do and intimidate us. Like we were handling what is happening. What's happening? We are here to also do our work, and they needed to give us our time to do. But some of the officials and the cadres, they thought they could be telling us what to do or how to conduct ourselves. But we were actually doing our work professionally, because as we were on the scene as the journalists, now I'm giving you the media side, we were on the scene, and we also look at the police. We did engage them to say they were giving us updates as well. We're also getting updates from the family, because we have to report matters as they unfold in a fair and impartial manner. But others were trying to undermine our work. They tried to intimidate us, But all right, it happens. Even if it was on World Press Freedom Day,
it was on World Press Freedom Day. We needed to be appreciated and not to be made to stand for 7 hours waiting for a story. And you will later proceed to the police station, where you spent some good hours as well.
Yeah,
and also the minister kept you for
involving.
long hours so that he could issue a statement that was holistic in terms of what was happening on the ground. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching Camnet TV. My name is Sharon Kalimbola, and on the other chair, as usual, is Patrick Soko. Join us again tomorrow on The Business for Breakfast. Otherwise, we will continue to track the story, and we will give you updates this evening. Good morning.